in a small American town, back when people lived more by their neighbor's judgment than by the truth, a man brought home a rooster from the farmer's market. It was strong, bright-eyed, and stood tall like something that had never learned fear. Every morning, while it was still dark, it crowed. Not because it wanted to cause trouble, because that was the job of a rooster. But this town did not like the truth. It liked silence. The neighbors came knocking. "What kind of thing are you raising that makes all that noise every morning? My child can't sleep." Some even stood outside the fence and sneered. "Can't you teach your rooster any manners?" The man listened, and little by little, he began to feel ashamed. And when a man feels ashamed because of other people's mouths, he will always look for something to take it out on. One morning, he went into the backyard, bent down, looked at the rooster, and said slowly, "Tomorrow, don't crow anymore. You're getting me cursed at. You're making me lose face. If you don't listen, I'll kill you." The rooster froze. Crowing was its nature. But fear of death was stronger than nature. The next morning, it stayed silent. No crow, but its body still remembered the habit. It gave the slightest flutter of its wings, just once. Behind the coop wall, the man had already been waiting. He stepped out as if he had finally caught it committing a crime. "From tomorrow on, don't flap your wings. Flap them, and you die." The next morning it did not crow. It did not flap its wings, but its neck, still stretched upward just a little, as if instinct itself were trying to breathe. Again the man felt irritated, not because of the neck, but because the rooster was still living in its own way. He growled, "From tomorrow on, your neck better not move either. I mean it. Move it, and you die." The next morning, the rooster crouched in the corner of the coop. Silent, no crowing, no wings, no raised neck. It was still alive, but it lived like a shadow. Inside the house, dinner was quiet. The wife looked at her husband and said nothing. The son wanted to ask, "Why do you hate the rooster so much?" but swallowed the question. Because in that town, people taught each other, "Don't argue, just keep the peace." But keeping the peace is never enough for someone who has already decided to destroy. That afternoon, the man went back to the coop. His voice was as cold as an October wind. "Tomorrow, you will lay eggs." The rooster trembled. It looked at him, unable to tell whether this was a joke or a sentence. It could not do it, because it was a rooster. Tears ran down through its dust-streaked feathers. The man saw them and laughed. "What? Afraid to die?" The rooster lowered its head. It whispered, as if speaking to itself, "I'm not afraid of dying. I'm only sad because I tried to do everything to please you, by killing myself first. You told me to give up my crowing, so I did. You told me to stop flapping my wings, so I did. You even told me to stop lifting my neck, and I did that too. Today I finally understand. When someone has already decided to kill you, you die even if you stay silent. You die even if you behave. You die even if you slowly erase yourself. I should have died while I was still crowing. At least then, my identity would still have been alive. And that is the most painful thing. Not death itself, but the slow death that comes when you break your own voice, hoping to be spared. This story is not just about a rooster. It is about family, about society, about all the places where people do not hate you because you did something wrong, but because you dared to be yourself. If someone wants to crush you, do not think silence will save you. Staying silent before someone who wants to steal your identity is also a kind of death.